Okay, it looks like we have well over a couple or nearing a couple dozen folks, so we should be getting close to those who were intending to attend. Hello and welcome, everyone. I know most of the attendees on this virtual meeting, but for guests and new acquaintances, I'm Cameron John, Chairman of the Governance Committee and Interim Chair of Fort Edmonton Management Company. Before I call this meeting to order, we'll be following several best practices of virtual AGMs. At this time, I ask you to go ahead and type your name into the chat box now that the meeting is live, as this will be the attendance tracker. So please just go ahead, guests, attendees, observers, and type your first and last name. And I'm going to do that as well. And this will be the way that we will acknowledge welcomes that will follow shortly. And then as well, I'll also ask that all people please mute yourself unless you're speaking to a business matter or topic. And at this time, what I will do is also note that the attendees and any chat dialogue related to business matters will be enumerated by the AGM chat manager, Renee Williams, who's FEMCo's VP of Customer Experience. So at this time, I'd now like to call the annual general meeting to order at 1:04 p.m. And as we confirm attendance, I will note that Fort Edmonton Management Company wishes to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is Treaty 6 territory and a traditional meeting ground and home for many Indigenous peoples, including the Cree, Saulteaux, Nassitapi, and Nakota Sioux peoples, and the home of the Métis. We also acknowledge our treaty obligations and are committed to living in accordance and collaboration and friendship with those obligations. We have 1 hour arranged for this meeting, and the agenda was earlier distributed and shown at the beginning. As well, for AGM business matters, please feel free to use the chat function. I've delegated monitoring of this function to Renee. She has been asked to speak up and pause me in the event either myself or another speaker on the AGM business matters need to attend. At this time, I will also confirm today's agenda. I'm not aware of any modifications, so I'll pause for a moment in case there are any agenda item edits. And there being no objections or suggestions, I'll confirm the agenda as is. At this time, we'll move on to item 2, and I'll ask the shareholder, by proxy, interim city manager Adam Laughlin, to approve the September 16th, 2019 minutes as presented. And Adam, please either unmute or feel free to enter into the chat box your consent.
Hi, it's Rob Smythe here. I'm not sure, did Adam sign his name up yet? I'm not sure he's here right away.
So I don't know yet. Renee, has he signed in yet?
I have not seen Adam sign in as of yet. No.
Okay. So Rob, I understand that you may be acting as shareholder proxy today then?
I think that would be appropriate, yes. So
okay.
What request is to remind me of the request again?
It's to approve the September 16th, 2019 AGM minutes from last year as presented.
So do I make that motion then, Cameron? Do I approve them? As a shareholder,
okay.
I do approve the minutes from last year.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to make some introductions today, and I will ask Renee to screen share the list of attendees who have been confirmed. Thank you, Renee, and we are pleased to present the shareholder by attendance here, Councillor Cartmel, Councillor Paquette, Councillor Banga, and the shareholder proxy, Rob Smythe. Moving on, I'd also like to introduce attendees today from the board and staff and management. Board members who have attended today or are attending are myself, Dominic Schaum, Erica Barutz, Jennifer Wood, Candice Sperling, Whitney Shaw, Jim McKillop, Bill Blaze, and James Cummings. And from the management team today, we have Darren Dalgleish, Stuart Crosley, Renee Williams, Max Frank, Rosa Leclerc, Doris Gladue, Teresa Ryan, and Jessie Duffy. And as well, I'd like to welcome our guests and invited attendees, Janet Trihuba from the Foundation, Andrew Ottaway, also from the Foundation Board, Jason Clark, President of the Fort Edmonton Foundation, Rob Smythe, Deputy City Manager, Roger Jevney, Branch Manager and ex officio board member, and then as well from Pennock Atchison, Bruce Pennock and Cody Awid. Well, I appreciate all of your efforts to be present today, everyone. Thank you. And thank you for making it to Fort Edmonton Management Company's 2020 Annual General Meeting. At this time, we'll move on to item 6, greetings from the city. And at this point, it would be, I believe, Rob Smythe, who would be providing greetings from the city.
Not exactly prepared for this, but I certainly have some notes here that I'll share. Would have been Adam's key messages for sure. So good afternoon. I'm certainly pleased to be with you today as the shareholders representative. It gives me a chance to say thank you for your efforts as staff and board members to manage Fort Edmonton Management Company and Fort Edmonton Park through this very challenging period. It's certainly been a unique year with the park closed due to COVID-19 and the construction impacts and the financial toll that's had on your operations. I applaud your efforts to manage expenditures and continue to move forward in anticipation of reopening in 2021 next year. I'm also pleased with the very collaborative approach that's in place between the Fort Edmonton Park Management Company and the city with respect to managing the capital projects at the park. It was a journey, but we're getting through that now. Exciting times ahead as the park fully reopens next year. I'm looking forward to revisiting the park, particularly to see firsthand the new Indigenous people's experience. What a tremendous addition to Fort Edmonton Park. It will really help the park tell a more complete story of the history of this place we now call Edmonton. I'd also like to thank all board members for their volunteer effort and recognize the tremendous efforts of Don Cummings, who served on the board and as the board chair for the past decade and has been involved since the creation of the management company. Certainly looking forward to an exciting year ahead for the Fort Edmonton Park. Thank you to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smythe. That is very appreciated. We'll be moving on to item number 7 now, general report to the shareholder. And both myself and Darren Dalgleish will be providing some comments. And so I'll start with some overall comments on FEMCo and some good news. And the good news is as such: Fort Edmonton Park's strategic plan is focused, clear and refined, and ready for the enhancement project relaunch. Because in short, Fort Edmonton Management Company is a management company with a unique model for the management of public assets. And at present, FEMCo manages Fort Edmonton Park, which is the primary venue to tell Edmonton's story. FEMCo strives to make Fort Edmonton Park Western Canada's premier heritage cultural attraction, building on half a century of stewardship by the City of Edmonton's Community and Recreation Facilities Branch, which established a genuinely world-class venue. FEMCo was established to carry forward a bold new vision, to utilize the assets well beyond the previous typical use in a strategic and a creative way for Edmontonians and our neighbors. The FEMCo's model really brings an entrepreneurial approach to delivering meaningful value. I've observed that FEMCo's CEO instills a performance culture and selects and inspires exceptional talent who advance game-changing commercially successful park uses, such as dark, thus bringing profitability to the business through higher margin product mix and the dilution of fixed cost. And I have now had the chance to observe Darren's organizational leadership model on the park's heritage cultural assets and how he has tied together lean operations, strategy, and organizational performance, all centered around strategic business renewal and the early fruits of this. And this approach has already started to reduce the burden on the taxpayer and is the key to a thriving cultural asset intended to make Edmonton a more livable, vibrant, and culturally rich city. However, there are risks and challenges, as I'm going to categorize as food for thought in the upcoming year and in what we're dealing with. COVID-19 brought significant challenges. In addition to COVID-19, the redevelopment and enhancement project is a massive and complex undertaking. with vast amounts of earthwork and utilities work. And as expected, there are customary construction challenges, contingencies, and unknowns that surfaced, which resulted in cost as well as delays. As well, given the new reality with the world economy, there are liquidity challenges, and the management team has worked hard to source many new operating grants, loans, and other market available cash sources. This was and continues to be a Herculean effort that has yielded much fruit. I'll note that protecting liquidity is required to be able to thrive in this challenging global economic environment. And the work to protect liquidity and generate resources to continue to create value continues. Despite these challenges, the upside is enormous. Upon relaunch this summer, after the enhancement project is complete, the park's new assets, including the Indigenous people's experience, will result in something special and transformative for Edmontonians. Not just the bricks and mortar, but importantly, reaffirming the sense of identity that everyone from Indigenous people to Edmontonians today are proud of and honored to share. Darren will share key enhancement project relaunch details in his report following here. Regarding the CEO and the executive team that is in place to execute the strategy, I have held one-on-one discussions with all board members this summer. The board is highly engaged and supportive of the CEO and supportive of the executive team in how they are advancing the priorities for FEMCo. Now, moving on to board operations. As a board, we continue to refine the skill-based board model, including this year, the launch and formal review of our board assessment process. As well, I'll note the government's framework is in place and functioning, meaning to say that internal communication and teams are working very well. As well, committee leadership is effective at delivering, along with the committee members doing the work. And finally, I'll note on board operations, the only vacancy was the retirement of Don Cummings. We have an otherwise full and effective roster of trained board members who are contributing. Now, moving on to the management agreement, there is an update. FEMCo now has a new management agreement for the first time in 10 years. And the management and the city are advancing the business relationship using that as a foundation. We're very glad that we have gotten this far. Now, looking ahead, the last part of my report here, I would like to start with sponsor support and say thank you to the support from all three arms of government towards the enhancement project. We are grateful and fortunate for that support. Darren will provide a little more detail on specifics around some of the support that FEMCo and Fort Edmonton Park has been receiving. As well, partnerships. It's important to note that FEMCo continues to work on partnerships. Lots of work ahead with many partners to advance FEMCo's priorities in the service of the management agreement, including Fort Edmonton Foundation initiatives. The foundation relationship is important to us, and the foundation president, Jason Clark, and I are together looking forward, aiming at greater results with both organizations, really collaborating at a better level than I've seen really since I joined 4 years ago, and I'm very, very thankful to note that. Both fundraising and social enterprise endeavors that the foundation is advancing continue to positively grow, and lots of really great collaborative efforts there. Now, as I conclude, I'd like to make a special note and to acknowledge the former chair, Don Cummings, who retired from the board this year. His work on refining the board environment and setting up the model for board effectiveness and assisting with concretely defining FEMCo's clarity of purpose is one of the reasons that we are ready and able to support FEMCo's future prospects today. And finally, I'd like to say, as a business person, I'm impressed with the City of Edmonton, who continues to support and trust the FEMCo model, which is one of a professional and entrepreneurial organization who is entrusted to maximize the value of one of this city's greatest assets, Fort Edmonton Park, ensuring that a clear strategy is successfully carried out by executing on objectives in an enterprise who is execution focused and value orientation created. And with that, I would like to introduce FEMCo's CEO, Darren Dalgleish, to provide his general report at this year's AGM.
Thank you, Cameron. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Well, today I'm going to give you a sense of this past year. I'm going to touch on current activities and initiatives and what our plans are going forward. I'm going to share updates about the new expanded Fort Edmonton Park, our plans for opening next year, and I'll outline the summary of the strategy we've employed to position Fort Edmonton Park as the premier cultural tourism attraction in Western Canada. Fort Edmonton Park is a very traditional open-air museum, but it's underpinned by a non-traditional strategic focus and a holistic approach to sustainability. In fact, this is what FEMCo was created for. And sustainability is the holy grail of cultural institutions because in general, the entire industry has been fighting a steady decline in industry over the past decade or longer. At FEMCo, we want to make a better community. We believe that cultural and heritage assets have an inherent social value to the community, but we need to execute in a different manner and in a manner that bucks the trend of declining interest. We don't view public heritage and cultural assets as profit centers because they provide social service to the community and they need to be accessible to the public. We do, however, view the assets, the experiences, and intellectual operating model as a means to support the core of Fort Edmonton Park, improving its financial performance and securing its growth trajectory. Our approach is different. We believe that to truly embrace the identity and purpose of Fort Edmonton Park means we need to operate it differently, to grow it differently, to follow a path to sustainability that aims to ultimately reduce the burden on the taxpayer, not increase it. We see leveraging assets and creating non-dilutive and market-aligned new product offerings as key to our success. We employ rigorous business practices such as lean Kaizen, which eliminates wastes and focuses on reduced variability and increased value. Put differently, our strategy is this. We're focusing on our operational excellence to run an efficient and productive business. We're enriching our product mix to provide offerings that are more aligned with the marketplace, particularly outside of the core operating season. We're focusing on accessibility of the park, so everyone in the community has access. And we're practicing social responsibility in all areas of our business. Those 4 areas represent our 4 strategic priorities. In 2021, Fort Edmonton Park will age thousands of years. For the first time, the story timeline will now include the pre-contact era, and we plan to illustrate this in a stunning and world-class manner. Our new Indigenous peoples experience will be the crown jewel of this historical enterprise, and it will attract interest internationally. Our new expanded midway, which is now largely complete, will increase capacity and add experiences that will drive repeat visitation, because we believe the best way to double your customers is to get them to come back again. The front entry plaza will welcome visitors in a modern and intuitive manner and optimize natural customer flow. And the City of Edmonton's investment in the infrastructure in the park is creating a solid backbone for the continuity of the park for decades to come. Now, 2020 has been incredibly challenging for FEMCo, as has already been mentioned. As with everybody else, we've seen the curtailing of revenue, and we've had to make some difficult adjustments to get through. Coupled with the health crisis, the complete dismantling of the park for the $160 million enhancement project has made almost any activity impractical. But through strict cost controls, lean initiatives, workforce reduction, we're positioning ourselves for positive cash flow into next year's operating season. With the immense effort of my team, we've navigated this environment while still building and preparing for 2021 and remodeling our non-core programming, such as Dark, for example, which will operate for the 3rd year this October. And my innovative events team have created a safe, immersive experience which goes beyond bricks and mortar. This year's iteration of Dark is creating new ways for Edmontonians and the region to benefit from the skills and the talent of my team in a cost-effective way with very high value. An example of this is Raveyard, part of our Dark experience this year, where people can welcome Dark into their homes for free, among other offerings that include in-person and virtual. We're also engaged in a total park brand refresh, which we'll be unveiling in the coming months. And we've redesigned the food and beverage hospitality group to create a class of our own. The leadership team is engaged, they're talented, and they're all pulling in the same direction, moving well beyond legacy issues that have hindered Fort Edmonton Park for a very long time. Our board is chock full of supportive, engaged members with a complete spectrum of skills, which is a force multiplier for the management team. We'll emerge in this new tourism environment with an engineered approach to programming and visitor experience. Indeed, we must innovate, and Fort Edmonton Park will lead. Fort Edmonton Park will be approximately 50% bigger in scope next year. And without any additional funding from the City of Edmonton, we are integrating technology, customer flow models, and the enmeshing of our award-winning volunteer network with our world-class interpretive staff. This will create a lower-cost interpretation model with a more modern and immersive result. And we weren't alone in this quest. I've got to recognize the support of our shareholder and amazing partner, the City of Edmonton, our MOU partners, the Confederacy of Treaty 6 and the Métis Nation of Alberta, who are regular collaborators and are considered part of our team, frankly. The Fort Edmonton Foundation works with us to make sure the community is engaged and the future of the park has additional means. And our many sponsors and partners and donors in our regular activity, as well as our special event activity, such as Edmonton Tourism, Alberta Tourism Group, etc. And finally, I'd like to add a third acknowledgement to our former chair, Don Cummings. I'm not sure what I can add, but Don's vision and guidance is largely the reason we have such strong prospects, for the future. Fort Edmonton Park will be the premier cultural tourism attraction in Western Canada. We are well on our way, and we won't let up until we get there. And then we'll innovate some more. So thank you for attending today. I look forward to greeting you to the past in the very near future. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce our VP of Finance and Administration, Stuart Crosley, to make a few comments. Stuart?
Thank you, Darren. Good afternoon. I'm Stuart Crosley, the Vice President of Finance and Administration for Fort Edmonton Management Company. 2019 was the first of two challenging years for FEMCo due to the enhancement project construction at Fort Edmonton Park. Construction necessitated the closure of the park in September of 2018. As a result, there was no revenue for admissions, retail, and educational programs in 2019. In terms of financial performance, FEMCo finished 2019 slightly unfavorable to the board-approved budget. The audit of 2019 went well, with management and staff improving internal control deficiencies identified by the auditor from the previous year. Notable changes in the financial statement format were made. On the 2019 statements, all revenue and expenses are reported, whether they be from FEMCo commercial activity or from the Fort Edmonton Park operating season. For example, museum admissions revenues and food and beverage private event revenues are reported, as well as the commensurate expenses for both. This created a more complete and usable financial statement for the FEMCo board, management, and ultimately the City of Edmonton. The new fulsome format does a better job communicating FEMCo's overall financial performance, and the schedules communicate separately the park's performance and FEMCo commercial activities performance. Thank you. Back to you, Darren.
Thanks, Stuart. I don't have any additional comments. Cameron, I'll hand it back to you.
Thanks, Darren. Thank you for the update this year on the AGM, Darren and Stuart. And with that, we will move on to item 8 in the agenda, audited financial statements for the year ending December 2019. At this time, I'll acknowledge that the shareholder has received the audited financial statements of Fort Edmonton Park And I will ask the audit partner overseeing the file, either Cody or Bruce, to comment on this year's financial audit. Gentlemen?
I'll do that, Cameron. Stuart didn't warn us that we had a role to play here, Cameron. So just comment first of all on the process, the audit process, which went very well. In fact, we're very impressed with the quality of the product we were delivered to audit by Stuart and his group. So we're very satisfied, and at the conclusion, we're very welcome to sign what's an unqualified audit report on the year ended. So we're very satisfied with the output and very pleased to be part of this great event.
Thank you very much, Bruce, and congratulations to the team for a well-run audit and a clean bill of audit health for an unqualified opinion. Great work.
Mr. Chair, I did just want to note that interim city manager Adam Laughlin is here, and he can handle the approvals of the resolutions.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for that, Renee. Adam, shall I read off all 4 resolutions, or would you like to go sequentially?
I think fine either way. If you need to catch your breath in between, it's totally fine to do them one by one.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. Okay, so for item 9, the resolutions to be approved, I'll start with resolution number 1, and this is for the number of directors. Be it resolved that the number of directors to constitute the board be fixed at 13 until the end of the next annual general meeting after September 17th, 2021. Does the shareholder consent?
We do. Approved.
Thank you. Resolution number 2, appointment of the board of directors. Be it resolved that the following directors are appointed as directors until the end of the next annual general meeting after September 17th, 2021. And those would be Cameron John, Jim McKillop, Erica Barutz, Victoria Clark, Bill Blaise, James Cummings, Roger Jevney, Ian Reynolds, Dominic Sham, Whitney Shaw, Candace Sperling, and Jennifer Wood. Do you consent and approve?
I do.
Thank you for that. Resolution number 3, appointment of board chair. Be it resolved that the following interim board chair is appointed as board chair until the end of the next annual general meeting after September 17th, 2021, and that would be Cameron John. Do you consent and approve?
I do.
And the final resolution, appointment of board auditor. Be it resolved that the following auditor is appointed as auditor until the end of the next annual general meeting after September 17th, 2021. And that would be Pennick, Aitchison, Nielsen, Delvaney, Chartered Accountants. Do you consent and approve?
I do, and I would like to apologize for being late to the meeting. I would like to also thank Don Cummings for his work, and as an infrastructure guy, I am very excited to see what's going to happen out at the opening of the park. So thank you.
Perfect. And Mr. Laughlin, if you'd like, by all means, do you have further comments you'd like to add as well? Rob did have Mr. Rob Smythe there did have a chance to make some comments, but I open it up to you before we move on to adjournment.
Just I haven't met all of you. I've met some of you. I'm sure in time I will get to meet all of you. And thanks for all the great work of the board, the great work of the FEMCo organization. And again, really excited to see what the future holds for the park. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for that. Okay, and actually moving on to item 10 now, closing remarks. I'll pause at this moment and just confirm with Renee that there has been no further business matters brought to our attention here on the chat.
There have been no further business matters that I can see here on the chat.
All right, well, thank you very much. You know, as I wrap up, we know Fort Edmonton Park's heritage cultural value is unquestionable, and we are excited by the continued evolution of FEMCo's leadership role and strategic model, which is contributing at greater levels to bring about greater social and economic value in Edmonton. And I'd just like to say thank you again to the management team, to our partners, our shareholder, and other stakeholders for attending. I very much appreciate you taking the time out today. And with that, I declare the meeting adjourned. Have a great day, everybody.